Hello there, imbeciles. Some of you have taken issue with my comedic style, but I'd like you to know that when I was younger, I read Letters from a Nut and More Letters from a Nut, and now I have the third and fifth installations, respectively, in that series. Even More Letters from a Nut and All New Letters from a Nut, and I'm missing the fourth installment, Hello Junk Mail. But these tomes essentially formed my conceptions of comedy. I'd suggest reading them. Any of them are hilarious. So I've had a fun activity going. I thought I'd write to Mr. Ted L. Nancy, the ingenious, brilliant letter writer that he is. Originally, I wrote to him at his Moore Park address. I guess that doesn't work anymore. It's a return to sender. However, hopefully, in the new one, All New Letters from a Nut, it lists his new address, which is at Kenneth Road in Glendale, California. And at the back of the book, it also says to write to that address. So I'm assuming this one is still up to date. The following is what I wrote to Mr. Nancy, and I'm going to resend this as soon as possible to kick this off. I think it could be very interesting. This is what I sent. I assume this may probably still be your address. If this is not the address of Ted Nancy, then please, whoever this is, write back and tell me this is not where Ted Nancy lives anymore. But I assume, after all, that it is you. Your address is a part of Americana, right up there with the house from Leave It to Beaver and the house from Psycho. Allow me to say first off that this letter is written old school using a finely crafted 1980s-ish electronic typewriter. It is true. I am not fibbing. If you do not believe that I am using a typewriter to type this letter, then by all means lick the page and notice how the letters of this letter are pure ink. Yes, Ted, for the purposes of this letter, I am using an authentic typewriter. I believe they are the only way to write to people if you want to appear kitschy. I write this letter to compliment you on over a decade of using the mail. You, out of all the idiots out there, still use this time-honored method of media to talk to people thousands or billions of miles away, and I believe it is something to be admired. Kevin Costner in the movie about the mailman would be proud of you. I also think it's a novel concept to print your letters in book form. I have read Letters from a Nut 1 and 2. Yeah, I've read 3 and 4 out, 3 and 5 out. So. I do not have enough money to buy 3 and 4, but I will soon. When I get them, I will have the whole set, excluding, of course, the one about junk mail, which is still true. They are truly inspiring books. They even inspired me to get out there and write some letters. I wrote one to Sandy Wormick, Adam Sandler's agent, and one to Tim Conway, how you did, because he might die any time now, although I don't really resemble him. When I was younger, I wrote a letter to Ferrara Pen, the candy company which makes lemon heads. That letter was probably not as good as the ones you write, or as good as the ones I can write now. Maybe it was worse than some of yours, and better than some of mine, or vice versa. The point is, you are a martyr and an activist, and deserve more recognition than you have. There is one thing which Jerry Seinfeld said in his introduction to one of your books, either 1 or 2, in which he claims that you are wasting the time of decent, hard-working people. Now, don't get me wrong, Jerry is a great guy. I have watched his Insect movie, and I found it compelling and touching. His sitcom is the last good sitcom. The Big Bang Theory sucks, but he said that you waste people's time. That is an absolute falsity. You simply write good mail. You compliment hotels, casinos, you double-check about the nude balloon races, you try to donate Mickey Mantle's toenails to a museum for posterity. You may be many things, but a time waster you are not. But you are a nut, and one of the finest authors alive, maybe even next to Truman Capote. Your hand-dipped productions are hand-dipped with care, I can tell you that. Are you coming out with a new installment of the series anytime soon? Allow me to say, sir, that if you opened all those hungry mosquito places in Las Cruces, I would go there just to meet you. The same goes for the ridiculous belly and nostrils by the bay. Yes, I would even eat the BLT. I'd say it's time for Letters from a Nut 5. I noticed that the last one had some email. Nice to see you staying up with the times, but maybe you could start a new spin-off series separate from Letters from a Nut. You could call it Emails from a Nut. Is this a normal thing to get fan mail? I know that your books aren't read much anymore. Letters from a Nut experienced a big craze, I think, back in 2000. But of all the people who get fan mail, I certainly think you should, what with your whole thing being letters and whatnot. I have an idea which I think you might like to consider, sir. If you wish, we can talk turkey like this, back and forth, for 50 letters or so more. When you're done with writing me, you can call it quits and put all 50 or so letters into a book. It could be your big comeback. Maybe call it Letters Between Nuts or something else. I ask for no royalties or copyrights in this fine endeavor. You alone can sell it. All I wish is the pleasure of having written to a fine chap like you. You are truly a gentleman of the old school. If you do not wish to do this, then go ahead and write back saying that you do not wish to. I understand. You are a busy man and all, writing letters, I assume, but this new book would be something you might want to consider. You seem to underestimate the power of a good comeback. Roseanne did it, and look where it got her. I'd say it's high time for some more letters from a nut, either between us both or between you and the King of Samoa or whoever. Let's chat. Please write back to the return address and let's get on a good chat party. You're a very inspiring guy. You need more exposure. Thanks once again for taking the time out to talk to your fans. Your letters wrote. Sincerely, your compadre among all the pizza flyers and expired coupons, Nicholas Arcada. P.S. Does your house have non-smoking rooms? And now, I'm going to package this letter up into a brand new envelope. I'm going to send this letter and see what Mr. Tittle Nancy says. I understand he's coming out with Letters from a Nut, the movie, but personally, I think that's kind of a waste of time on his part, since I prefer his letters in a literary medium, and he's just repeating letters he's already written. I think there ought to be a Letters from a Nut 6. You know? So anyhow, there will be updates on this if I get a letter back from Tittle Nancy or whoever he is. I hear he's finally come out with his identity, but I can't take that. Anyway, this has been Nicholas Arcada on the crazy phenomenon of Letters from a Nut. Anyone who hasn't read these fine tomes really ought to. They're the best book series of all time. So go out and read these if you haven't, because they're great. And 1 and 2, which aren't shown here, but they're also equally good. Alright. I will keep this updated here.